Hello, this is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode.
Hi, this is Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode, and you are listening to
My Nerd World.
Welcome to, and I'm your host, Jon Justice. Here to talk about all things Depeche Mode. I got a question for you to kick things off today. We got new remixes. We've got some 12 inches coming out. I'll share with you details here and get to some of your listener feedback. But for those of you that have seen the concerts already, has it matched the experience of your youth for you older listeners to the show? I'm genuinely curious. Some of the fondest memories that I have are going to see Depeche Mode with my friends. Going back to the 101 show and World Violation and Devotional specifically, those three tours. As time's gone on, you know, the circumstances have changed quite a bit. I saw the singles tour several times, went to Europe and Manchester to see the singles tour back in 1998. And then as time went on, most of the shows that I've seen since then on every tour, I've gone alone. Nothing has really matched those times in my youth when I've gone to see the band. And I'm just curious what your experience has been with this Memento Mori tour as opposed to when you saw them when you were younger. Looking forward, obviously, less than 4 weeks away from heading to Denver to finally see the show on this tour. And high expectations, but of course realistic expectations. It's going to be really fun for me to be going with such a massive fan of the band, which is really something that hasn't happened since those tours that I mentioned. My wife and I went to several tours during the Exciter era, and she was a fan, and those are special for a completely different reason. But that thrill of going to a show with a hardcore fan, you just can't match it. And I don't remember much from those years, but man, I can remember going to the Great Western Forum to see those multiple nights in a row on the Devotional tour. I can remember driving the 70s Volkswagen bus with all of my friends and listening to electronic on the way to Dodger Stadium to see those shows, or the Universal Amphitheater, or traveling up to San Jose. And then, you know, certainly as I mentioned, going to the 101 show. So I just really would love to hear from you and your experiences and what your memories of this tour are going to be like, and some of the memories that you have. And you've shared so many of those over the course of the past year as well. But as I get closer and closer to finally seeing this show, I would be really interested in sharing some of your thoughts and your experiences of going to the concerts, and how it's compared to the times in the past when you've gone to see them. I've always enjoyed going to see Depeche Mode, but it clearly is a different experience when you're just there alone. Typically not during the show itself because you're watching the concert, but there's a whole experience that goes along with it. And this is something that I'm really looking forward to when I head to Denver. So TalkShowNerd at gmail.com, and just share with me your experiences, compare and contrast. Depeche Mode unveils new dimensions of My Favorite Stranger, with today's digital release from this article that I have found of 5 new remixes of the track, hailed by AllMusic for its pulsing menace that builds to discomforting yet alluring levels of anxiety. That's a rather interesting and clever and relevant way to describe My Favorite Stranger. My Favorite Stranger falls into a unique category of Depeche Mode songs where I don't even know how to describe it. They're different. Unconventional is the way that I would put it. When I approached My Favorite Stranger upon first hearing it, I was listening to the song as a more conventional, straightforward track, and I don't anymore. I put it into a category of, say, To Have and to Hold, or Somebody, where they're conventional songs, but they kind of break the rules as it relates to your typical song and the way it's structured. You take Ghosts Again and Enjoy the Silence, and they are very similar to one another, especially if you sort of break down the lyrical structure of both those tracks. They're almost kindred spirits in that way. And while My Favorite Stranger certainly has a larger vibe and a more epic feel than, say, To Have and to Hold, I always thought was a very unconventional track. And the fact that you get the guitar riff that goes on a little bit extra long, to the point where you're listening to it wondering whether or not it's ever going to kick back into the lyrics again. I put Cover Me in that category as well. A song that's relatively short, but then goes on this epic electronic journey that never quite sounds the same to me. And I found a new appreciation personally for My Favorite Stranger by looking at the song in those terms as opposed to it being a more conventional, straightforward Depeche Mode track. The latest series of reimaginations of a song from the universally acclaimed Memento Mori is the newly released My Favorite Stranger Remixes by Boris Brejcha, Ella Minus, Long Island Sound, Sunken Cages, and Al Wooten. Meanwhile, in the physical world, Depeche Mode announces the launch of the Memento Mori White Label Remix series, a monthly drop of 12-inch vinyl singles building on the previously digital-only remixes of Memento Mori singles. The series will debut November 10th with the release of Ghosts Again, the first of 3 limited edition individually numbered pieces. Pre-orders are now open for Memento Mori White Label Remix series, which will be available exclusively on the Depeche Mode store and at select physical retailers in Europe. Now, this has me wondering if we are getting closer to what I had reported as a rumor earlier this year of a potential for an expanded box set. Certainly a release, even an EP, that will include those 4 fully produced but unreleased tracks that didn't make it on the album. With the release of this White Label Remix series and its debut in November, I know that we're getting down to the end of the year, but I'm wondering if we could get another release sometime in December before the holidays that would include those things that I mentioned. So certainly if it does get announced, I'll talk about it here on the show. On the live front, the third leg of Depeche Mode's Memento Mori World Tour continues to play to capacity crowds and ecstatic reviews. The band returns to New York for the Saturday date at Brooklyn's Barclays Center, to be followed a week later by the tour's second stop at Madison Square Garden, October 28th, with recent performances described by NOLA.com as the best of Depeche Mode from back then, delivered with all the power and passion of Depeche Mode now, and by the Houston Chronicle as a sharing of spirits and energies with each other and the crowd that so clearly still adores them. The tour's second North American run will continue in arenas across the continent before wrapping up mid-December with a 4-night stand in Los Angeles. The band will then return to Europe at the start of 2024 for an additional round of European dates following last summer's sold-out stadium tour. Having sold more than 100 million records and played to more than 35 million fans worldwide, Depeche Mode remains an ever-evolving and singularly influential musical force. Depeche Mode released its acclaimed 15th studio album on March 24th of this year, alongside the launch of the tour, which has since played to well over 2 million fans and has been extended into 2024 due to overwhelming demand. The inspiration to the fans, critics, and artists alike, Depeche Mode continues to forge ahead with the Memento Mori album and tour, representing the newest chapter of a peerless and ongoing legacy. I will say that, getting back to my question of your experiences and comparing your live experiences to having seen them in the past in your youth, this time during Memento Mori has absolutely, without a doubt, been the most unique and memorable Depeche Mode era since going back to Ultra. And I think that coincides with just the quality of this record. it's funny because I've mentioned the band Gunship on the show before. Very few bands have gotten me excited in the way that Depeche Mode has, and Gunship is almost there for me. They're just truly unique, and I really love their sound. They have a brand new album out called The Unicorn, or just Unicorn, excuse me. And this is an album that I've been listening to almost exclusively. It's the first release by anybody that's made me actually move off of listening to Depeche Mode and Memento Mori. So over the course of the past 2 weeks, since the album's come out, I've been listening to this Gunship Unicorn album nonstop. 14 tracks on the record, so it's rather long. That being said, I took a break, and I went back to Memento Mori, and it was such an amazing moment listening to the album where I hadn't spent any time with it for, a good 10 days or so. And I know that may sound weird, but not weird in that I hadn't listened to it, but that is a long time for me not listening to Memento Mori, considering how consistently I had been listening to it. And going from Gunship back to Depeche Mode continued to further lend credence to how much I love this band. I was trying to figure out the right words. I did a full show this morning and another podcast before I did this one, so I'm about done talking for the weekend. No, it reminded me how much I love Depeche Mode and why I love Depeche Mode. I really love this new Gunship album, but it'll never, ever, ever be good as my beloved Depeche Mode. All right, not a lot in the way of listener feedback this week, so we'll hear from Danielle Monet, who writes this. I just wanted to butt in and make something clearer for all the devotees that don't speak French. For years, I have heard their named translation to English as fast fashion, and that is inaccurate, she writes. The word depeche has different meanings. One is the verb, which means to hurry up. As a noun, it means official correspondence, which is what the magazine they got their name from was about. So the correct translation would either be fashion dispatch or fashion report or fashion bulletin. Voila. I thought true fans out there would like to know this tidbit of cultural information so they can impress or alienate their friends at parties. Thank you so much. I appreciated that quite a bit when I received it, and I'm glad I got to share it with everybody. If you would like to share your thoughts, and again, I want to hear your concert experiences and how they compared to the past, you can email me as well, talkshownerd@gmail.com. If you happen to be a listener to this podcast and you live in the Twin Cities area here in Minnesota, I'm doing a meet and greet and book signing at the Starcade in St. Paul on Saturday, the 21st, noon until 2. So if you happen to listen to the show and you want to come by and say hi, you don't have to pick up a book if you don't want to, but I will have all 7 books available there for sale in paperback and hardcover there. Starcade, St. Paul on Saturday the 21st, noon until 2. If you need more details, just email me, talkshownerd@gmail.com, and I will send them your way and see you sometime tomorrow. Now, if you want to purchase and support my nerd world, you can do that by picking up a book if you happen to enjoy sci-fi. You can actually buy hardcovers and paperbacks directly from me and get them signed if you like, cheaper than what you can buy, cheaper than what you would pay on Amazon.com. Again, just email me, talkshownerd@gmail.com. So if you love Depeche Mode and you read science fiction, treat yourself, a friend or a family member. Set in the future where air and space flight culture has replaced car culture, it is inspired in part by Depeche Mode, the world we live in, life in general, life in the so-called space age. Depeche Mode plays a large part in the underlying themes of the story, and the main character himself is a massive Depeche Mode fan at a time when the music of the 80s through the 2000s is nostalgic and popular among the characters. The stories do feature references to your favorite band, both direct and indirect, while telling an exciting science fiction space opera story. So, if you like your science fiction to be epic with a little bit of Depeche Mode, romance included and filled with action, EMBARK is perfect for you. Written for adults, but great for ages 11 plus. Get the girl, kill the bad guys, and save the future for Pilot Taftgardia, if only it were that easy. You can go to Amazon.com or mynerdworld.net, or just email me, talkshownerd, to Pick up your hardcover or paperback. Also available in ebook and audiobook at those websites, Amazon.com or MyNerdWorld.net. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and I hope wherever you are listening to this show that you're happy, that you're healthy, and that you're safe. Thank you so much for checking out the episode. I really do appreciate it. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll talk to you guys again next week. Bye.
Hello, this is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode.
Hi, this is Gahan.